Hi, everyone. I'm Dave Gambaccini, Principal of Excel Capital Partners in Bedford, New Hampshire, and the New England CCIM Chapter President for 2020. I've assembled some chapter presidents from around the country here so we can talk about some basic ideas of what we're seeing in our market, some market conditions, and maybe some CCIM opportunities that each chapter has done. I'd like to first give an opportunity for everyone to introduce themselves. Gary, why don't we start with you?
I'm Gary Hunter. I'm the chapter president of Washington State. I've served on the board of directors. This is my second term as chapter president. And I've also served as regional vice president. I own two companies. I own Westlake Associates, which is a commercial real estate firm in Seattle, in business since 1975. And I own Capital Financial, and we focus on court-appointed receiver services and troubled assets. We have national contracts with Alchem Loan Servicing and Wells Fargo.
Excellent. Thank you, Gary. Glad you could join us.
Thank you.
We could take you for an intro.
Did you introduce me?
No, please introduce yourself.
Sorry. Hi, my name is Helen Chong, and I am the founder for Helen Group. And my company, actually, we specialize in residential all the way to multifamily. So we help a lot of our clients to build their portfolio, starting from their primary residence all the way to multifamily. And from time to time, we might have some clients want to buy a business for themselves. So that's when we help them with retail or office and industrial. I'm also serving as the chapter president for Northern California chapter as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Helen. And we'll come into Central America. How about Mark? If you're not frozen, we'll go to you. There he is. Good.
Mark Robinson. I am the 2020 president of Minnesota and Dakotas. So we've got 3 states. I would say a majority, maybe 80% of our members are from Minneapolis Metro, which is where we're at. Day job here is Mid-America Real Estate, where I'm a principal. All we touch is retail, real estate, all third-party management, leasing, investment sales. And what I do is investment sales and shopping centers.
Excellent. Thank you, Mark. And we'll go a little bit south of you. Tim, kick us off.
Tim Veler. I'm the North Texas CCIM chapter president 2020. I'll be the Region 4 first vice president next year. And I'm also on the NAR Commercial Research Advisory Committee, and at National CCIM, I'm on the Designation of Membership Committee. I work at Transwestern here in Dallas, Texas, specializing in industrial and some office. Mostly agency leasing, but I also do a lot of small building sales, both industrial and office.
Excellent, Tim. Thank you. And Terry, down in Florida.
Yeah, it's good afternoon, everybody. Nice to see all of you. I'm terrytorres. I'm the Florida Chapter 2020 president. We're a rather large chapter divided into 8 districts, over 1,000 members. Very, very active chapter, very active districts, thank God. So we have a lot of content and probably a few things that we can share. My company's SLC Commercial. We operate 4 offices, primarily on the Treasure Coast in Palm Beach, Martin, Indian River, and St. Lucie counties, and basically cover the area that's known as the Treasure Coast or the Research Coast of Florida.
Okay, excellent. And last but certainly not least, JR New York. Why don't you give us an intro?
Good afternoon. Thank you, Dave. JR Chantengco. I'm the president of the 2020 president of the New York Metro chapter. As you guys know, this is the epicenter of the pandemic. I'm right here in New York City, Manhattan, but we cover the other boroughs, Queens, Brooklyn, Staten Island, Long Island. But we also cover people who are located in the northern Jersey area, on just the other side of the river from us here. And we do have also some crossover from people from Connecticut that come into it. So being a tri-state area, we're Metro, we pull from a lot of members who work a lot of regionally, and may even just live or live in or commute in their hometown, but come into New York. And so those are our members. I'm managing director of Black Pearl Investments. We're a capital advisory firm. We do financing, debt and equity. We're a family office where we also invest our capital. We do some syndication work and private placement memorandums on all product types. We've done both industrial office, retail, and multifamily.
Great.
Hospitality as well, by the way.
Excellent. Great. Thank you. Again, appreciate all of you taking a few minutes. JR, I'm going to come back to you in just a minute. So I'm in New England. We have everyone but Connecticut. And of course, we've seen, a little bit of a slowdown with some of the real estate, transactional real estate. I'm personally on the equity and non-traditional debt side. It depends what the project was, and it depends on what stage it was in that I've seen some slowdown. Other times I'm getting some phone calls I didn't expect to get with folks saying, well, listen, now some opportunity. But in general, JR, if you would, because like you said, you're kind of in more or less an epicenter. New York gets a lot of attention for a lot of reasons, and unfortunately right now you guys are getting hit pretty hard with the pandemic. What are you seeing either from a standpoint of your market and real estate trends, or even on that investment side with your with the equity side of things?
Good question, Dave. I will tell you that I was on a panel, another kind of Zoom conference type panel last Friday, and the same question was asked to me, and I kind of look at it this way. As you guys know, we have 30 million unemployment right now. People have filed for unemployment. You have certain industries that are going to be better than others based on where they're at. So you could actually break down, I think, our sector into different areas. What has been most affected by what we're seeing right now versus those that may not be as affected because they're not so much dependent on walk-in traffic. They're more not necessarily dependent on people or foot traffic, but rather like industrial data centers and others are not really going to be affected by that. So you got other end of the spectrum where sectors are doing quite well. So you look at the metrics. I think a lot of it will come out in this month in May, because although last month was telling, you notice that in multifamily even, there were only about maybe 10%, I believe. They considered a little over 10% of the people didn't pay rent. So the question becomes, what effects will those have loan going to be coming due, or normally there's a grace period. So we're under there was a 90-day grace period for most of the borrowers who own these types of properties. So I don't think we're going to see an effect. If we could bounce back and reopen the economy, it hopefully could be, as they're saying, different types of recovery, whether it's a U or L, or even I heard the Nike swoosh sign as another type of recovery. I hope that it's going to generally bounce back, be a little bit more elastic in terms of, because this was a external event that happened, not due to the metrics of the market, because I think the economy was solid in many ways. Interest rates were at an all-time low. The question becomes people's behavior. How will that affect certain other industries, like say the retail or mall industry? We heard today J. Crew filed for bankruptcy. I would think that's just there could be a number of other types of retailers coming on. So those who are in retail are going to be very well off, obviously very dynamic sector to be involved in. You're going to see a lot of receiver type of properties coming out, I think, as a result of what happens in retail. Other industries, I think, will be a little bit more insulated from that. So it really all depends on who you are, what areas of focus you're doing. And I don't think everyone will be, it's a one size fits all, in terms of it's all going to be bad. I think it's going to be a gradient effect, depending on what area, what locale, what sector of commercial real estate you're involved in.
Sure. Great.
Does that help?
JR. And we're, I know with our chapter, we've been impacted as far as our events, our classes, things we were going to do for the chapter itself. Terry, with Florida opening up a little bit more, how are you guys responding in terms of a chapter? Are you able to kind of get back on track with some of the events or coursework, or how is the chapter handling what you guys are doing moving forward?
Well, we were probably the first chapter to initiate Zoom meetings, and we did it shortly after they shut down, I guess the social distancing guidelines went into effect. And we did it by bringing in Casey Conway, who's the Institute economist and just a great speaker. And we've been doing a Tuesday session at 12 noon, called it a lunch and learn, but it's really just a great little 30-minute session with Casey making a presentation on the economy and providing a lot of metrics, which include corporate earnings reports, transportation, trucking, rail, a lot of the metrics that we look at every day and try and determine what effect it has on the economy. But it's been very informative, and he's just a great presenter, great speaker, and it's followed by a 30-minute Q&A. And we have we've had as many as 300 on board, generally somewhere in the range of about 120 people attend the Tuesday session. So tomorrow at 12 noon, we'll have a session. If any of you are interested in participating, certainly let us know, and we'll send you the meeting link. It's been, but our districts also are doing Zoom meetings. And tomorrow, for example, Miami district will have a marketing session that we can participate. Even if you're not in Miami district, you could present a property to Miami district. It's one of the big South Florida districts. So certainly we'll have presenters there from other districts, but the districts have been active. The chapter's been extremely active. We've had no face-to-face meetings. We're doing our executive committee meetings by Zoom, and that's a fourth Thursday of every month. And we have a lot of other meetings that we do on a monthly basis, including committee meetings and that type of thing. But yeah, it's been, maybe it's the new normal is what I'm thinking.
Sure.
What we find is we're spread over 700 miles, 67 counties. It's hard to really have a face-to-face get-together. We have 2 meetings, actually physical meetings a year, summer meetings and winter meetings in Orlando. But, you know, this is a great way to get together, and everybody could just stay at home or stay in their home office and participate, and maybe have greater participation for a chapter that's spread over such a vast area.
Great. And as we move into more of central U.S., Mark, you know, you being in Minnesota and Dakotas, obviously you have a large geographic area as well, and your market, I'm sure, has been impacted. What are you seeing, either both in terms of your market in your chapter, if not in terms of we understand you're not really having face-to-face events like we were just saying with Tori, but how are you guys engaging with your chapter at the moment, and that same thing with what you're seeing in the market?
Sure. So right now, as far as our chapter engagement goes, candidly, we haven't come up with a fantastic response yet, because I think we're all still figuring this out. And the way our board meeting falls, I think it might be next week. We've had one board meeting so far, so everything's kind of hit the fan, so to speak. So we've got our newsletters that we're sending out to people, hosting our, inviting our sponsors to get involved. Hey, if you've got any Zoom meetings that you want to host, or your company's providing something, maybe we can get them involved to keep them active and provide them some value, as well as our members. But we've had, I think, 2, maybe 3 now events canceled in this 2-month span. And so at the beginning of it, we kind of brushed it off as, okay, well, we'll still have some summer outings and make it up on the back end. And now as days go by, we're kind of contemplating, okay, this is maybe the new reality for this year. And we are going to have to host some of these programs virtually. Part of the issue in Minnesota is the Department of Commerce that issues continuing education credits has been a bit of a moving target as far as the requirements. And so candidly, there's just not a good setup and not a good piece of software that you can provide a Zoom meeting, for instance, and get CE credits without quite a bit of administrative work. And so that's what we're wrapping our hands around right now is, you know, I think we're gonna have to do that in bullet. And so what's the best approach to do that? And then start hosting more of these meetings. And one of our better meetings is the roundtable, where we've got, you know, one person on our office, industrial, retail, investment, finance, et cetera. And so I think we're probably going to set that up in the next 30 days. I would say 45 days. So, so as far as chapter goes, we're still trying to figure it out, frankly. But to Terry's point, as far as the geographic range, we do have massive geographic range here, and because of that, and being based in Minneapolis, where most of our members are, it's been unfortunate. We've had some satellite meetings there, but not a lot. And I think actually we can pivot and kind of use this to our advantage to engage more of our members outside of the Minneapolis metro and greater Minnesota and both Dakotas. So I think it'll be a good opportunity for us to get some people who weren't otherwise engaged.
Good. Yeah, I understand what you're saying about the CE credit. New Hampshire provides CE credit, Massachusetts does not. And we started the process last year to try to get CE credit for Massachusetts. And it's been a full year plus, and we're still working on it. So I think that's just the nature of it. It is difficult to get that done. So I understand your pains there. Now, Tim, when we head south of Mark into Texas, obviously, I know that you guys are very successful as a chapter. And it might be helpful for certainly someone like Mark and I, as we're trying to figure out some of these programs that might help us understand a little bit about what you're seeing in the market, being Texas, and same thing with the chapter. How have you guys pivoted, and what are you guys seeing for engagement on the chapter level?
So one thing, we had a call to arms right away with our executive board, and speak to Mark's point about CE credits. We made a decision early on that in the effort of being good corporate and community citizens and getting the latest, most relevant, best in market information out to our CCIMs to maintain their high level of performance with their clients. So we have a motto at North Texas, helping North Texas CCIM promote CCIMs. So with that idea, we decided to bypass the CEs just to get the information out there quickly. Because like Mark said, that's just too big of a process. But downfield, that's an option. We actually got someone working on that on the side. So we looked at the big picture, and we quickly had to pivot. We took our first luncheon immediately to a Zoom. We had a couple luncheon speakers weren't able to go, but we replaced them with some very good high quality people. We looked for the information we wanted to get to our chapters from looking at the perspective of the lion's share of our members are brokers. So we looked at the perspective of, okay, what are we dealing with right now? For those of you that I'm sure most of you know, the Department of Homeland Security immediately called us critical employees. All of us, we do critical work. And then from there, you have governors step in, and they defined what that means. And our state level, at the state level, we had to, and our governor supported that here in Texas. And then at the local level, we have counties. Now, North Texas is a very large, if you draw a line literally across North Texas, our chapter is bigger than most states. It's huge. And so we have differences across the counties. So how can we get the latest, greatest information out to the chapters? So we had Zoom Thursday morning market updates, and those are weekly now. So the idea for that was to be, those of you who've ever been to a broker comps breakfast, where it starts out, brokers are sharing comps and on deals that are trading in the local market, from industrial to retail to office to multifamily to land and development. And then at the end, those eyes turn into, hey, what are you seeing in the market? Well, that was the idea, and that's still the branding for our Thursday morning coffee market updates, but they've morphed into getting the immediate information out there. So we had some attorneys come on quickly and decipher some of this language for us. Okay, here in Dallas, you need to do this, 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 and this. The governor says you can do this, but the local county judge says you can do this. We had to pivot. to keep within what we were supposed to be doing and continue to serve our clients well and be good citizens. And what we found out is most of the brokerage community didn't know how to navigate the waters, didn't know how to get deals done forward. I've been very fortunate. I've been able to get 2 deals done. I haven't met the clients. A couple of small office deals and set them up, and they were virtual tours, and that happened quick. So I had some good firsthand experience while this was transitioning. Then we have our Zoom luncheon. We quickly went, we had some good information come in, and we quickly went to, with the social media, we called reached out to the regional 4 president, and that was John McClure. And we had a great conversation. Howard First, our vice president, he was able to set up a training with a title company. They sponsored it immediately, stepped right in. We were able to hit all the chapters in Region 4. So we hit Oklahoma, Louisiana, all of Texas with, it was a panel of brokers that are having success in getting deals done through social media. And that's recorded for your preview. We can get you the link if you're interested. Just reach out to us. And it was really good. Now we're going to give them a whole series. So we're getting that scheduled right now. And we're going to also CoStar come in. And they did one of our Thursday morning coffee market updates. And the idea was to have it, first they gave a general market update. Now they're going to go and they're going to do office one week, industrial the next, retail. And then we're going to open it up from some small question and answer. And as many of you, I think Terry mentioned it, when you have several hundred people on these calls, it's interesting to see. We had to learn a lot of etiquette. And we had to learn it quickly. And we were all hands on deck. It's been open sharing information across all the players involved in the Zoom meetings. So we've developed some, and it's still a work in progress. We've developed some pretty good etiquette in coaching of the sponsors that are talking about their product, how long they should go, the time limit, keeping people's attention. So we've learned a lot and got a lot of feedback about that. We've done a couple things on the region level. We're getting ready to roll out the CoStar one, because it was such a good success. We're going to do that at the region level as well. And then in the works, we have Zoom deals and drinks. We're getting ready to roll out. We're going to call it a little bit different. We're going to call it where's the name of it? Got it up here on my glass board. The needs and wants exchange, and that's not even confirmed. We're playing with some information. And one thing I'd like to hear from Helen on, I saw where she did a town hall, and we're trying to brand our different Zoom meetings so they don't all lump together and people get confused. Oh, another Zoom meeting. Well, which one is this? So we wanted to think of, Thursday morning, that's the market update. Our luncheon, we're talking to people that are coming in, giving a different, unique perspective, not exactly aligned with that. And then the town hall, other than market updates, some other things, we had we had a contractor come in and give the update everybody needed to know. Okay, what supplies do you need to order right away? How's this affecting permitting here, there, in this municipality, that municipality? What do you need to plan for? How do you need to, what are the things you need to say to your clients to keep them abreast on the happenings? And that was outstanding. That exploded. And he got a lot of business from that. The attorney that gave us updates, he got a lot of business from that. We had a banker was supposed to give us a market update. He had to pivot immediately. He was just too overwhelmed with this, getting these loans out. And he was able to give us a little 10-minute, but that exploded. He got a bunch of business from that. So we've learned a lot. So that's, I think I've
Excellent.
tried to get
Well,
it.
no, thank you, Tim. Like I said, I've been fortunate to become friends with you over some time here, and I know that your chapter operates at a high level. You guys do a lot. You guys accomplish a lot, and it's possible. I'm already thinking of making sure that we stay on an email chain. So Mark and I can get some ideas and start implementing perhaps some of the things that could work for our market. So that's some great content.
No, it takes a team, and I appreciate you doing this, Dave. And
Yeah, no problem.
Here now,
So-
Helen's handling the town halls.
Well, exactly. So I was going to go to you, Helen. I was aware of your town halls as well, and certainly if you want to lead with that and help us get a better understanding of what you're seeing in your market, and likewise, like what Tim did, if you like, if you want to help us understand a little bit about the chapter and some of the impact your chapter's having on your folks, that'd be great.
Sure. So as you know, Northern California was actually really the first area to go into lockdown, shelter in place, and we are still under shelter in place right now. And right now we have extended until May 31st. And we've been inside our house, wherever we are, for 7 weeks, 6-7 weeks now. But it just seems like everybody is adjusting pretty well. For us, we've been doing, since the second week of shelter in place, we've been doing webinar actually with Southern California chapter. And we were doing probably every single week at the time, and then we switched to bi-weekly. But we are doing a lot more joint forces. We talk about like different markets, because Northern California and Southern California, obviously they can be very, very different. And besides that, our own chapter, we're still doing our the regular luncheon meeting, but then it's obviously all virtual now. So we have canceled all of our physical meetings since March. And we probably gonna have to cancel most of our meetings for the next few months. We don't plan on putting them back together, because over here everyone is still a little bit cautious about like the social distancing. So we do see that the virtual meeting actually help out a lot, because we have 3 districts for our chapter. Northern California involve Sacramento, Bay Area, which is Oakland and San Francisco, as well as Silicon Valley. And this is talking about like 90 miles radius. So the virtual meeting actually helps out a lot, and we get a lot more registrants for our for the webinars. And just like what we're doing now we can do it countrywide or even internationally. So I think a lot of people actually appreciate the fact that we can jump from one meeting to another meeting very quickly, and we can also learn from other districts. The only thing is that obviously we have to think a lot for the sponsors. What are we going to do? How do we promote them? So we want to make sure that every time we have a webinar, we're still promoting our sponsors and allowing them to speak at our luncheon meetings, or give a little bit of a mentoring session. Maybe it's like 10-15 minutes. So it's just like what Tim was saying, that those little time frame really allow them to earn some businesses. So surprisingly, until now, we still have people who said that they want to be a sponsor. And region 2, we have about 10 chapters, and we have our Casey Conway also coming to speak to our region 2. And we just had that lockdown last week, and it will happen this Friday. We are all very excited, and now same thing, we're going to do a promotion, rolling all our sponsors logos during the webinar, and we're anticipating over 500 people going to attend that, and then we're going to blast it out onto Facebook, so Facebook and YouTube. So the exposure is going to be there. I think at this point, it's really working out for all the sponsors as well as the members. In terms of the businesses, how people are doing, I think I started hearing people getting calls from people saying like, hey, you know, I have this office space, I want to get off the lease. I would like to downsize to get smaller, because most of our employees are working from home and seems to be working. So we definitely start seeing and hearing a lot of that, people trying to get out of their leases. I think one of the biggest thing in California is really the multifamily side. There are a lot of laws coming out trying to help the tenants, but then we lack the proposals that are treating the landlords more fairly and really helping the landlords out. And as you know, California is always more tenant-friendly state anyways. So it's just at a point where we really, as a real estate community, we're trying to educate our consumers and also the market, saying that, you know, landlords, especially the mom and pops landlords, are struggling as well. And how do we make sure the proposals that are proposed by the legislators are actually fair to the landlords and providing some relief as well. So I think that was the reason why I created Town Hall. The Town Hall is more from my personal side. I'm trying to connect the consumers and also real estate professionals. Consumers, they don't know nearly as much as what we know, right? And for us, we're constantly on these webinars trying to understand what's going on with the real estate markets. Well, I have clients who are constantly asking me too, as I heard what's going on. So that's when I feel like there's such a huge gap between the two, and why don't I just put a town hall together so we can actually connect the consumers and the real estate professionals. And for me, I was mostly it's just a moderator, and I invite other professionals and also encourage real estate professionals on the call to answer questions from consumers. So that is what I put together personally for that. And yeah, so I think we're really excited. I feel like this, even though shelter in place, there are still a lot of sales activities going on, surprisingly. Everyone is really using the virtual tour to do the showing first. And then we do a lot more due diligence on, in front of the computer. And then finally, when it's all said and done, everything seems to be okay, then we'll do a physical inspection. We just passed, actually starting today, today's May 4th, starting today, we can actually do showings on properties that are occupied either by renters or whatever. So you can start doing showings now. But before this, only vacant properties could be shown. So I think, yeah, I mean, even then, our sales activity is still there. I think we're going to have a lot more supplies on the market from this point on, because now sellers realize that, okay, even though my property is occupied by tenants, they can still show now. So yeah, definitely we'll see some activities popping back up.
Excellent. Thank you, Helen. And, I have to toot the Casey Conway train. We're actually locking him in for an event as well. So, what would we do without Casey? But we're kind of doing a back-to-back thing where 1 week we're doing a Casey Conway, CCIM economist, who's going to help us understand the supply side, the current supply side in commercial real estate. And the following week, we're going to be doing the CoStar economist in our area to do the demand side. So we're kind of doing a back-to-back on kind of the supply demand. And in the works, we were trying to figure out, and I'll talk to you about this offline, Helen, but that concept of a town hall. So that's great. So we were trying to figure out how to put the consumer and the professional together. So that's great. So Gary, certainly, saving the best for last as you sit in the Oval Office and entertain us. Oh, hold on, let me unmute you. Get you there. Did I get him? Try that.
Okay, let's hope.
Yeah. So Gary, I probably know the least about your market. So help me understand your chapter a little bit. And same thing, same conversation we've been having here. Help me understand your chapter, I guess, in sides of either geography, not necessarily numbers, but how are you reaching your folks right now, and what are you seeing in general in the market?
Well, we live in a relatively technologically advanced region. So we pivoted to Zoom right away for meetings and began to continue our speaker series and educational lunches over Zoom. We usually get about 60 to 90 people for a lunch in the Seattle Yacht Club. And we went over, the first one I did that I moderated, we went to 220 to 230 for attendees. And of course, that was right after the shock of what was happening in the economy. So there was a lot of interest in, and we had a panel, commercial mortgage broker firm, Glacier, which is a pretty large firm up here. And they also service life insurance company loans. And then we had a money manager in capital markets from Merrill Lynch. And then we had a guy from Bank of America that did $25 million in up institutional deals to kind of give us an idea of what the institutional deals were doing, what the money markets were doing from Jack, and then also Eric Gunther. So we teed that up. Our next one is going to have to do with the election process that's occurring. So we've got a moderate Republican and a moderate Democrat that's going to be talking about the upcoming election. Something that's very interesting that's occurring in Seattle right now that everyone in all their markets really wants to watch for is our council member, Kashama Sawant, who is a socialist / communist. She gets about 30% of her contributions from the Communist Party. and she is organizing rent strikes in the city of Seattle and King County. And she wants all of worker force residential homeowners and worker force multifamily tenants to come together and en masse not pay their rents, to force lenders to provide mortgage relief for property owners, so that for 1 year, people cannot pay rent, tenants cannot pay rent, worker force homeowners will not pay their house payments, so they'll get relief. Now, of course, we all know on the call that this is a real conflict with property rights and the Constitution in several areas. So she's got videos. You can go online. You can view the videos. Kshama Sawant, K-S-H-A-W-A-M-A, Sawant, S-A-W-A-N-T. Now, when you think that, gosh, I'm glad I'm not living up in Seattle, San Francisco's got the same thing happening. LA's, they're kind of looking for this whole kind of a community of people that, you know, and this has happened before in our history. So in our history in the United States. So we'll see how this kind of goes with this deal. But the difference with Sawant is that Sawant has singled out a very large property management firm, of which Westlake is also a very large property management firm, and I personally manage about 2 million square feet. And Sawant has singled out Cornell Associates and all of the buildings and the property owners that they represent. And it's a pretty big firm. So it's going to be, and they're slugging it out right now. They're going to court, and it's going to be just a drama. So that's something that's interesting that came out of that. And everything else, you know, it's kind of, you know, just a wait and see kind of deal.
Sure. Great. Well, listen, you know, just in the interest of time, I actually kind of want to open the floor to questions. I'm not sure if anyone has questions for each other or even comments for each other. I'd like to believe that find, you know, offline, we might find that we could, you know, tune this in a little bit and find some different structure to it. So, you know, perhaps we can revisit this and share more ideas and content. But for now, just in the interest of time and you know, giving viewers a chance to wrap it up too. Do you guys have any comments or questions for each other?
I actually want to comment on what Gary said. Just like what you were saying, that in California, we have this huge issues as well, that proposals just keep popping up here and there. As an example, a month ago in city of San Jose, council members would just write up an emergency proposal saying that landlords should be refunding back the April's rent back to tenants. And it went onto the agenda for the city council meeting. And luckily now we have virtual meetings, so a lot of people actually logged on. And the meeting went from 1:30 p.m. to midnight. And this item was discussed around 9:30 p.m. So everybody was waiting all the way to 9:30 p.m. And we had 400 people showed up on the call. 90 people actually queued up to speak on that specific item. And then they found that it was unconstitutional because they are using basically government power to transfer wealth from landlords to the tenants. So, I mean, it's really important for us to educate our consumers again, to let them know, like, you guys need to be involved and you guys need to speak up. Otherwise, unfortunately, landlords are always going to be considered the greedy people, the people who are taking advantage of all tenants. And a lot of times they make these proposals based on maybe 1% of those bad landlords. And so they make these proposals that's really unfair. Right now, we see that in the Bay Area, it's probably about maybe 5% of the people are not paying. But at the end of the day, we always tell tenants, if you're really struggling, you need to have an open communication with the landlord. Again, we are here to educate, and that's the most important thing, to let consumers know what to do.
Great. Anyone else have any questions for each other?
I just want to comment and say that Helen's right. I mean, having an open and honest conversation with the landlord. We have a few that they need help or special arrangements. No problem. The door is open. When they ask for a policy, you know, a lot of the tenants called up and says, "What's your policy? What are you doing?" I said, "I'm just taking them on a case-by-case basis. Are you going to pay your rent?" "Yep, I'm going to pay my rent." I said, "Great. If you have any difficulty, give me a call." That's it.
Great. Tim, did you have anything?
I
Oh, go ahead, Mark.
It sounds like there's actually some pretty cool programs going on that I wish I could say we were a part of, but you guys have done a great job hosting some of these programs. I did not get the memo on Casey, coming to speak to your chapters or regions, but I don't know if there'd be an opportunity to do like a shared calendar or something. So, or maybe the Institute can put on a calendar of where are all these Zoom meetings happening? Are they open? And then maybe some of our board members could be, able to participate in some of these and see some other ideas or opportunities.
Sure. And Mark, part of kind of what I'm thinking as we are doing this, and I'm thinking of opportunities, I think the 7 of us here have that opportunity to perhaps, open our calendars a little bit and make invites, right? I mean, there's certainly, like I said, I know that I've been trying to learn a little bit more about what Tim does, and I want to pull some of that into New England. And, JR and I are in Region 11, and really, quite honestly, it's just the nature of how we all conduct business. He and I don't even collaborate as much as we should. So these virtual opportunities are, like we do with everything CCIM, there's lots of opportunities in what we do as a group and as an organization. And I think that if we do kind of open the kimono a little bit and try to reach out to each other and share some ideas. Gary, I knew you'd like that. I knew. So I think that, if we give the opportunities to each other to say, hey, listen, why don't you come check out what we're doing? We might be able to share full seats in some of these events, depending on what it is. So Mark, great idea, great suggestion. I certainly think we can have some conversations offline to figure out, how to kind of pull this together. Like I said, if no one else has anything else pressing, what I'd like to do is at least.
One comment, Dave, then I have
Yeah, Tim, go for it.
one comment is we, on our first luncheon, we reached out to Eddie Blanton and said, would you mind coming in and giving a brief? And it was great. It was incredibly welcomed. And I think now might be a good opportunity for folks that can't make the chapter visits to have them come into your chapter Zooms. They can give you some insight. Him, Tim Blair, Les, Chuck, all the way down there. And of course, I'd capitalize on Casey Conway. And then question I'd like to ask the group, in your email, you said, talk about sharing ideas of how to move forward, look ahead and plan for the future. There's some really good ideas here on how people are pivoting, how they're handling things and what they're dealing with. I would love to hear, because we have stuff in the chute, but what are some other ideas or needs that you see not being fulfilled? Maybe you're not sure how to handle, or you have an idea, but haven't been able to execute it yet. I would love to hear that from each of the panel members.
Tim, I can say a few words on that. This is JR. Dave, real quick. I will say we are using this this kind of Zoom medium. We're actually going to be doing we're launching a virtual deal sharing event. It's a property share event. We're going to be vetting property. And so we're going to have a lender, an attorney who will co-host it. And we are putting that out in our newsletter this coming week. And we're going to do, normally, people have their properties on various mediums, CoStar, Crexy, and so forth. But we decided to do our own kind of chapter deal-making event and showcase some of our own members who have properties and allow them, themselves and their clients to actually go online. They can see that we're trying to get exposure for their property using Zoom meetings as a way to do it. So if I can share something, I think this is great, Dave, that you're doing this event, bringing other leaders together from different regions, and me learning from all of you, all the different things you're doing in your area that we can adapt and maybe take some of these ideas and we can share that with our chapter. I think this is great.
Awesome. Anyone else? Based on what Tim was asking? I know, as you were just saying, JR, we're starting to try to formulate a kind of a nuanced property type. We're trying to sort that out as well. I just heard you say the word thrive, so I think of thrive and adapt. Blaine Strickland.
Exactly.
going to be putting on a webinar for us coming up in a couple weeks here. So, you know,
For you.
if nothing else, something I've learned from talking to a lot of the CCIMs in the area, and a lot of them who I wasn't in the industry in 08, 09, so I had just missed that. I came in literally right at the tail end of it, but so I didn't necessarily have to perform business through the economic downturn. And what I hear a lot of folks saying is the one thing that you never give up on is communication, right? During these times, you know, when it cycles itself through, by the other end of it, your clients are the clients that are out there, or customers that are out there are remembering the people that kept in touch with them, you know, and whether it's clients or in our case, maybe our chapter members. You know, I have increased our chapter emails as simply just a form of open communication. And then of course we're trying to drop in webinars and events and content as we can too.
I agree with you, and also wanted to mention is just like what you were saying, we need to learn how to adapt. And I think for commercial real estate in general, we're probably not doing as much social media before, and we are very adamant about these face-to-face meeting, which is still very important. But then this event really forced us to go virtual, to be more socialized on social media. I think that part is still a learning progress. Work in progress. I mean, a lot of people are still learning how to be more social, and our chapter is trying to communicate a little bit more. As you know, we are all so overwhelmed with emails, and not everybody would read all the emails. So we're trying to be a little bit more figure out how to share our messages on Facebook and LinkedIn and all that stuff.
Well, listen, with that, to no end, thank you all very much for your time. I'm gonna say goodbye for everyone on this, and I thank you from the New England chapter and the chapters who have joined us here. You know, I hope that we can continue to find collaboration and kind of follow the beacon in these tough times, and wish you all well and success. And hopefully we'll talk to you again soon. So thank you very much for participating, all of you.